Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Nurul Hidayah binti Zainal Abidin. My matric number is 1172536. My topic is about the relationship between religiosity and subjective well-being among community in Jelebu. Relationship between religiosity and subjective well-being has received a significant scholarly attention in recent years, with a growing body of research investigating the ways in which these constructs interrelate. The majority of this study report a small to moderate positive association between religiosity and subjective well-being. Religion has played an essential role as one of the most powerful forces in life, death, health, and disease. The last few decades have witnessed a resurgence of interest in the study of religiosity in different disciplines, including psychology, psychiatry, medicine, gerontology, and anthropology, among others. Subjective well-being is a self-report measure of well-being typically obtained by questionnaire. Dinger developed a tripartite model of subjective well-being in 1984, which describe how people experience the quality of their life and include both of emotional reaction and cognitive judgment. On the basis of a review of existing literature, Pergamen, Smith, Cohen, and Perez conclude that the relationship between religiosity and subjective well-being appears to be mediated by at least 6 different factors. First, and perhaps most significant, religion provides its adherents with an explanatory framework in relation life, existing and sentence. Second, on one of the most significant pathways in which religiosity enhances subjective well-being is in providing its followers with an enhanced social support structure, which in turn has been found to be the strongest predictor of subjective well-being. Thirdly, its religiosity was also found to enhance subjective well-being by encouraging the adoption of healthier lifestyle. Fourth, religion has been found to promote personality integration which support higher level of well-being. Fifth, religiosity is associated with a pattern of increased generativity, which involve spending personal time, resource, and energy for the benefit of others. Finally, religion promotes subjective well-being by providing individuals with a variety of different coping strategies. For the problem statement, there are many studies into how humans enhance their level of subjective well-being, and while some of these have emphasized such a variable as personality traits, others have drawn attention to demographic factors like gender, education, and income. Spirituality and religiousness have been evaluated as internal factors, including self-esteem, locus of control, and personality traits that have an impact upon subjective well-being of individuals. Spirituality and religiousness are regarded as part of seeking meaning in life in the realm of positive psychology. Positive psychologists claim that there are some resources feeding life with meaning, such as personal project, family, job, affection, and love and religion. However, spirituality and religion do not mean the same thing, given that spirituality is defined as an internal system of belief that provides individuals with power and peace. Next is for research question. In this study is about the religiosity and well-being. And the research question is about what is the component of religiosity. Secondly, what is the effect of well-being. And lastly is what is the relationship between religiosity and well-being. For the research objective, the aim of this study is to know deeply about the relationship religiosity and well-being. First is to identify the relationship between religiosity and well-being. Secondly is to explore the effect of well-being from different religions, and thirdly is to study the spiritual quality of life. Next, I go to significance of study. This research will be beneficial to the student because they will know the relationship between religiosity and well-being. It also gives more advantage to counseling student before do the multicultural counseling with client. It will help the counseling student to know more and deeper about client religiosity and how it affects client well-being. This research will also beneficial to the community that live in multicultural people and consists of many different religions. They can understand more to respect the other's religion so as not give a negative impact on well-being to the individuals that have different religion with them. This research is also beneficial to the future researcher because they can get some information that might be needed on their research and some of their question might possibly be answered by this research. For the scope of study, this study is focused on the relationship between religiosity and well-being among the community in Jelebu. The data collection will be conducted to several residents which consist of different religions, that is Islam, Hindu and Christian, who will represent the population. This study will not cover other problems that are not considered as one of the religiosity and well-being. The other residents that consist of any religion that not stated are not within the scope of this research. The study will be done through the utilization of questionnaire to the resident as a survey and reference. The researcher will be able to know the relationship between religiosity and well-being. Next, the definition of term for religiosity. Religiosity is a multifaceted construct that has many definitions. Globe and Stark, 1965, defined 5 dimensions of religiosity, that is, experiential, ritualistic, ideological, intellectual, and consequential. Alport and Rose, 1967, identified 2 basic dimensions of religiosity, that is, intrinsic and extrinsic. The definition of term for well-being is an internal feeling that almost everything in terms of the psychological, physical, social, and environmental aspect is fine. Well-being has objective and subjective component. Well-being is the positive side of mental health. Synonym for well-being include happiness, joy, satisfaction, enjoyment, fulfillment, pleasure, contentment, and other indicators of a life that is full and complete. Well-being is not a condition that one achieves after reaching some type of threshold of good feeling. For the conclusion, Chapter 1, religiosity have been long considered to be a major determinant in achieving happiness and well-being, as well as a source of happiness, well-being, and better mental and physical health for the majority of people. The level of happiness increased with the increasing level of religiosity. This association could be considered in program designed to improve well-being and happiness among university students. It may be also useful for mental health professionals to bear in mind. People with psychopathology may possibly be helped by religious practice and activities. Next, I will go to the chapter 2. For the introduction, this study focuses on the relationship between subjective well-being of community and their participation in religion activities. Findings indicate that participating in religious activity will positively relate with community subjective well-being. Results of the study show that the community of adolescents' subjective well-being has related with participating religious activity. This finding might be evaluated with the perspective of positive psychology. According to the studies that stem from positive psychology, religious activity have been considered an aspect of a meaningful life. Moreover, religious activity have been considered as one of the most important subjective well-being increasing strategies. Next is the literature review. The literature about the relationship between religiosity, spirituality, and SWB has not yet achieved consistent result, and researchers argue that there are three main general flaws in this research field. The theoretical framework used to define and measure SWB as associated with religiosity and spirituality has often been too broad and focused only on the cognitive or affective dimension of SWB, thus leading to an incomplete investigation. To overcome this weakness in the present study, researchers clarified the theoretical reference model about SWB as including both a cognitive and an affective component. Spirituality construct appears in literature as distinct even if interconnected, and the study have typically considered only one of the two and its association with SWB. Such a basic distinction may not be helpful for understanding how religion and spirituality differ in their association with dimension of SWB. In the present study, the researchers operationalize religiosity in terms of religious identity, which refer to the extent to which people see their religious belief, practice and community belonging as central to the representation that they have of themselves and that they want to give outside of themselves. Spirituality instead was operationalized as the human desire for transcendence, introspection, interconnectedness, and to quest for meaning in life. The distinct role of religiosity and spirituality on SWB has been tested through two separate path analysis models. Next, the component of religiosity, Alpert 1959, elaborate the difference between intrinsic religiosity and intrinsic religiosity. He concluded that there were two distinct parallel constructs. This differentiation has won widespread acceptance. Alpert and Rose 1967 state that the intrinsic orientation individuals are disposed to use religion for their own end. The term is borrowed from axiology, the philosophical study of value. Intrinsic values are always instrumental and utilitarian. Persons with this orientation may find religion useful in a variety of ways to provide security and solace, sociability and distraction. The intrinsic orientation individual find their master motive in religion. Other needs, strong as they may be, are regarded as of less ultimate significance, and they are so far as possible brought into harmony with the religious belief and prescription. Having embraced a creed, the individual endeavors to internalize it and follow it fully. It is in this sense that he loved this religion. Therefore, intrinsic religiosity means the placement of faith at center of the person's life. This is the most important component of religiosity. Next, I will go to the theory used and related to the research. This research is using the client-centered therapy. Client-centered therapy uses a non-authoritative approach that allows clients to take more of a lead in discussion, so that in the process they will discover their own solution. The therapist acts as a compassionate facilitator, listening without judgment and acknowledging the client's experience without moving the conversation in other direction. Anyone who would be better off gaining more self-confidence, a stronger sense of identity, and the ability to build healthy interpersonal relationship and to trust his or her own decision could benefit from person-centered therapy. This approach alone, in combination with other types of therapy, can also be helpful for those who suffer from grief, depression, anxiety, stress, abuse, or other mental health condition. Person-centered therapists work with both individual and group since the client must do a lot of the work in person-centered therapy. Those who are more motivated are likely to be more successful. Person-centered therapy, also known as Rogerian therapy, originated in the work of the American psychologist Carl Rogers, who believed that everyone is different and therefore everyone's view of his or her own world and ability to manage it should be trusted. Rogers believed that all of us have the power to find the best solution for ourselves and make appropriate change in our life. Person-centered therapy was a movement away from the therapist's traditional role as an expert and leader. Next is Islamic view. Islam has 5 pillars and specific practice that foster subjective well-being. There exists empirical evidence supporting religiosity and SWB association in different Muslim countries. There is mainly Arabic significance. Associations were found between religiosity and SWB happiness, optimism, satisfaction with life, love of life, mental health, physical health, as well as ill-being such as anxiety, depression, neuroticism, and PTSD. The present result all consist with previous study carried out in different countries, situation, culture, and religion. It seems true that the religion of Islam as a value system has a high rank and importance among its believers. It was concluded that psychotherapists should attend the client religiosity in clinical setting. The relationship between religiosity and subjective well-being could be elucidated in light of specific practice, behavior, and cognition. In Islam, as in other religions, multiple practices are available as coping mechanism against everyday stress and hardship to relieve anxiety and other negative mental states. For the conclusion, Chapter 2, religion attempts to provide individuals with good manners by motivating them to get involved in good deeds and exhibited good manners. Moreover, religion prohibits the behavior that is likely to provoke bad or negative deeds, so individuals lead healthier and happier life. By means of developing good manners, individuals can become involved in society in a positive way, which is what helps increase the subjective well-being of individuals. Therefore, this study concludes that adolescents seem to be careful about avoiding negative situations and circumstances that could diminish their subjective well-being as long as they participate in religious activity. Next, I will go to the Chapter 3, Introduction. This chapter presents the description of the research process. It provides information concerning the method that was used in undertaking this research as well as a justification for the use of this method. The chapter also describes the various stages of the research, which include the selection of participants, the data collection process, and the process of data analysis. The chapter also discusses the role of researcher in qualitative research in relation to reflexivity. The chapter ends with a discussion of validity and reliability in quantitative research and discuss the way in which these requirements were met in the current study. For the research design in the study, quantitative research methodologies were used. The data was obtained from individuals of various age and a cross-sectional research model was employed. The sample selection implied a purposive sampling, allowing the researcher to be able to select one or more subsections from the selection pool in a place more random representing sampling. Sampling design. The sample infers something about the characteristic of the larger population. A population is a collection of events in which the researcher was interested in. Population may range from a very small number set to a very large number set. Since gathering data from every participant that makes up a target population can be impractical, the researcher typically draws data from the sample of that population. Next is data collection and data analysis. Data collection, researchers distribute the questionnaire to the Jelebu community by meeting the respondent who has another religion. There is one form of distribution system that the researcher prefer to use in this face-to-face study, since this questionnaire is distributed during the movement control order. For the data analysis, Mountain and Marais describe data analysis as the process whereby a phenomenon is broken down into its constituent part in order for it to be understood better. In this research, a discourse analysis methodology was used to analyze data and to understanding the condition behind the specific problem. The instrument, the Spiritual Well-Being Scale (SWB), is a general indicator of perceived well-being used for the assessment of individual and congregational spiritual well-being. The scale is composed of 20 items. 10 of items assess religious well-being and the other 10 assess existential well-being. The SWB provides a subscale for religious and existential well-being as well as an overall measure of the perception of an individual's spiritual quality life. The religious well-being subscale provides a self-assessment of an individual relationship with God. The Spiritual Well-Being Scale (SWB) is currently available only in English and Spanish, and it is paper pencil instrument taking about 10 to 15 minutes to complete. Lastly is for the conclusion concerning the relationship between religiosity and SWB. Researchers found that having a commitment toward a particular religion view help both religious and uncertain to feel a positive emotion. This result appears in line with several studies showing the role of religiosity in the induction of positive emotion. At the same time, having this commitment does not increase the life satisfaction in both groups. In particular, researchers found that religious identity commitment has positive impact on satisfaction with life, but only in religious and not in uncertain individual. As shown as the literature, religious belief may frequently associate with higher distress. This could explain why the religious commitment differently impacts well-being for religious and uncertain specifically. Okay, inshallah, that's all from me for my proposal research. Thank you.